Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to Trio Maryland's first meeting of 2022. We are so glad to see all of you here. As Neil said earlier, it's been a long time, and it's great to see everyone's faces. I'm Marty Marin, and this is my wife, Michelle, and we manage Trio Maryland. And we'd like to welcome all of our members today and our guests. And we are going to be starting off this new year with a timely and current topic from our friend Casey, Your Mind Matters. Our next meeting is going to be on February 12th. The topic is strategies for living after transplantation.
Hi, Happy New Year. So let's welcome today's guest speaker, Casey Saylor. She's addressed us before and she was awesome.
Thank you so much for joining me and us today for the presentation, Your Mind Matters, Managing Stress During Transitions in the Pandemic. As Michelle mentioned, my name is Casey Saylor, and I am the Older Adult Project Manager at the Mental Health Association of Maryland. And MHAMD, Mental Health Association of Maryland, for abbreviated, has been around for more than 100 years, and they address the mental health needs of Marylanders of all ages through programs that educate the public to increase understanding around mental health and provide resources and advance public policy to improve care and outcomes. And they also provide services that monitor the quality of mental health treatment services that are going on around the state. So I want to share just a couple links with you in case you're interested in learning more about MHAMD. I encourage you, our general website is www.mhamd.org. And that is kind of the hub for all of our information. And I want to highlight a couple of specific web pages. We have a coronavirus section of our website, mhamd.org/coronavirus, that is dedicated to mental health resources during the pandemic. And there are lots of different topics broken out in that section of the website. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I definitely encourage you to. We also have a publications section to our website, and I'll share this link with Michelle as well. And this is where our free publications live. So I have a couple that Michelle will particularly share with you today, but our library of publications go way beyond that. And so if you have any particular mental health experiences that you may be interested in learning a bit more about, I encourage you to check out our publications section. We also have a number of events going on. Throughout the state right now. Most of our events are held virtually. So if you enjoy today's presentation, I encourage you to check out our website and see what else is going on, what other topics we're talking about. So our particular events around aging and the brain are listed at mdaging.org/events. And our general events for all of our programs directed at folks of all ages will be at mhamd.org/events. And lastly, our Baltimore County programming, the particular program that I oversee, is available at mdaging.org/connections-project. So in case you maybe live in Baltimore County and you're interested in seeing what particular programming we have going on there, you are very welcome to check out our website. We have a volunteer program that provides peer support to older adults, as well as educational talks throughout the county that are going on. Okay. And all of these links, I know that Michelle posted a copy of the slides on the TRIO website. All of these links are click through. So if you open up the document to view the slides, you should be able to click these links and go directly to these web pages. All right, so our learning objectives for today, I believe that these were shared with you earlier, but just to recap what you can expect, we're going to learn about the stress hormone, cortisol, and how it affects our brain and our body, especially during transitions. We're going to learn about the pandemic's impact on mental health. We're going to review some common transitions that may be causing stress at this stage of the pandemic and some tips for coping with them. And we're going to learn about some mental health resources that you can use to support your personal well-being. And that being said, I have a lot of information that I'm looking forward to sharing with you, but there are some questions, woven throughout this, where I want to invite you to please respond in the chat box. And as we go through this, if you have any comments, questions, or resources that you would like to share with your fellow TRIO members, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat box. I acknowledge I certainly don't have all of the answers, right, or all of the experiences. So please feel free to contribute yours as well. All right, so quick note about the chat box. Michelle is watching that as I present. It's a little too much for me to have it open with everything else, so she will be watching that. And as we go through, we will have time at the end for Q&A, at which point we will address all the questions that were put in there. All right, so the stress hormone, as many of you may already know, is called cortisol. And cortisol is a chemical produced by our brains and our bodies that is designed to let us know when we are in danger. It
Hey, how you doing? Oh, very good, very good. In China Road, very difficult, much hard.
1 second for. All right, wonderful. So cortisol is the stress hormone, and it's designed to let us know when we're in danger, right? It shows up in our brains and our bodies when we experience a situation that our system interprets to be threatening. And it puts us into this state of fight or flight or freeze. And it's our body's way of saying, oh, we're in a situation that is potentially dangerous and we need to get to the other side of it. So here are our options. And so cortisol is historically very helpful, right? Way back when we would encounter a tiger, right? When we were going and doing our foraging, we would encounter a tiger and our cortisol would kick in and say, okay, I need to get out of this situation. And we would fight, flight, or freeze. And that was extremely useful to get us out of these, very threatening situations in that moment. And it's still very useful when these periodic threatening situations show up. In an environment such as a pandemic, however, the situation is not a tiger showed up and then it went away. The situation is kind of an underlying danger that doesn't go away. It doesn't just walk away and then we can calm back down again. So the cortisol in our bodies becomes built up over time as we continue to be exposed to these stressful circumstances like a pandemic. And as this cortisol builds up, right, it can impact us in ways such as decreasing our metabolism. We could experience depression, hypertension, chronic fatigue, sleep deprivation. We could experience migraines or tunnel vision. Acid reflux disease could be an effect. We could experience hostility towards other people. We could be hungry, arthritis, and a decrease in our immune system, our ability to fight off viruses and sicknesses that we may encounter. Some other effects of long-term exposure to cortisol can include, it can actually damage our internal organs, cardiovascular disease, we could gain weight. And we mentioned depression, things like anxiety and brain fog being that, experience maybe where you're trying to think through a problem, but you can't quite get there. You just kind of feel foggy and not attached. So it's very important for us to understand how stress affects our bodies. I'm willing to bet that most of us are experiencing at least some of these effects, since all of us are living through this period of heightened cortisol, of heightened stress right now. So I also want to mention that there is positive stress, right? Positive stress is called Eustress, and it can help us to accomplish goals and meet deadlines by providing mental alertness, motivation, and efficiency. And it can actually increase our self-esteem. And the difference is when the task is accomplished, cortisol shuts off, right? It's a short-term burst of, I can do this, I got it done, and now it's over. So stress is not always bad. It is not always bad by any means, but it's when we are exposed to it for a very long period of time that it can certainly negatively impact us. And so one of the things that we want to talk about today is how we can really acknowledge this for ourselves, right? That we are in a period of extreme stress and how we can start to deal with it in a healthy way. This is a quote from Mental Health America. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on the mental health of people of all ages. Now more than ever, it's critical to reduce the stigma around mental health struggles because that stigma often prevents individuals from seeking help. And if I can say that one good thing has come from this pandemic environment, it's that people are now talking about their brains and the need to really take care of them. And so from where I stand, I'm so glad, to see this increase in the conversation. And the data around how the pandemic is impacting our mental well-being really shows the need for this and the importance of it. So I have some statistics to share with you now on how the pandemic is impacting our mental health. Surveys conducted by the JAMA network show that the rates of depression symptoms in the US population were more than 3 times higher during the COVID-19 pandemic compared to before the pandemic. Similar findings were recorded in other countries as well, like Australia, the United Kingdom, and Germany. So you can see on this graph here, the tan indicates before COVID-19 levels, and purple is during COVID-19. Now that first one is so high because that is no symptoms. No, that is the report of, I'm not experiencing any symptoms of depression. And then you can see the level of symptoms, mild, moderate, moderately severe, and severe follow. And the purple line is consistently higher among those. Those are the during COVID-19 numbers. Another interesting statistic is that surveys conducted by the CDC in the US found that COVID-19 numbers peaked in early summer of 2020. And so did reported symptoms of depression and anxiety. So when cases went up, so did our general experience of anxiety and depression. And they also found that as cases went down, so did the number of people experiencing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And so this is a correlation that has been noted. There's still, more research that needs to be done on exactly how or why this is happening, but it is a trend that was noted. And so now that we are in this new peak, right, with Omicron, it's important for us to know for ourselves that the research indicates that symptoms of depression and anxiety are likely up, and we can check in with ourselves to see, okay, am I experiencing this? There's some data around quarantine. When we isolate ourselves from others in order to, prevent exposure, and that impact on our mental health. Things like isolation, boredom, and loss of routine were shown to be significant causes of mental distress. Quarantine individuals were more likely to experience increased levels of anxiety related to getting infected or transmitting the disease to other people. And it was found that quarantining can lead to post-traumatic stress symptoms, feelings of exhaustion, depressed mood, and increased irritability as well. This is a very interesting statistic that ties these experiences specifically to job loss. Research conducted in the United States by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that adults who experienced job loss within their household during the pandemic reported higher rates of anxiety and or depressive symptoms compared to adults from households that did not experience job loss. And lastly, research indicates that the following groups are at higher risk of experiencing some negative mental health effects during the pandemic as well. And these groups include low-income households, ethnic minorities, and youth, young people. And these are likely due to the compounded stressors, right? A lot of the data points we talked about so far are more likely to be happening in multiple, right? Not just one, but multiple of them are likely to be happening in these groups, such as financial stress, job disruption, discrimination. So why do I share this information with you? I do not share this information with you in order to, convince you it's all bad. Why do I try? That's not what this is about. I'm sharing this information with you so you can use it and be empowered. Please, I encourage you as we go through this information, check in with yourself. Notice if you are experiencing maybe one of these scenarios that I shared that may make you more likely to experience mental health difficulties. See the numbers and let you know that you're not alone in these experiences. And it's the first step to helping us to manage our cortisol levels is to know that we're at risk for experiencing stress at a higher level because of the situation that we are experiencing. Our stress is not a personal shortcoming. It's not something that you've done to yourself. And it's something that we need to be kind to ourselves about to help ourselves heal and work through it. So I want to encourage everyone, using that data or just thinking about your own personal situation, identify your triggers for stress. These could include things, maybe some of the, larger, more macro things that I just mentioned with the data. It could also include some very specific, more micro items, like maybe being asked to come to in-person gatherings, feeling overloaded from information, maybe your finances are tight or you're feeling bored, relationship problems, challenges meeting responsibilities, fear, fatigue. All of these things are potentially stressors. So I encourage you either during this presentation or after to take the time and check in with yourself. What is stressing you out right now? And what is stressing you out right now may be different than what stressed you out a year ago. This is very much a fluid situation, right? Some of the stressors that people may be navigating during the pandemic include that fear of illness or actually experiencing the illness for yourself or one of your loved ones, being fearful of losing a loved one or actually losing a loved one, that grief. Losing employment, financial hardship, or food insecurity. Accessing healthcare can be stressful, and maybe you're isolating and being in that environment is stressful, or maybe it's unsafe to be in your environment. Witnessing distressing scenes in the media, supporting others who are directly affected in whatever way can be stressful. And if children are involved, juggling that childcare with working from home or whatever that situation may look like for now. And, compounding the stress. Maybe you've experienced trauma in the past and experiencing this new stressor right now is making you think of the past, and it's compounding on those experiences. There are also a number of transitions that are new to this part of the pandemic that may be going on and directly affecting you. The new variants of COVID are an ongoing stressful situation for all of us at a population level. Changing guidance and policies in terms of how to interact with the virus. Re-entering public spaces. We all have a different risk tolerance for how comfortable we are interacting with this pandemic environment. And helping children to navigate this pandemic environment is a transition. Experiencing sickness and recovering can be varying amounts of stressful for different people. The grief and loss, if you've lost loved ones during the pandemic, and just this general underlying uncertainty that is affecting us all is definitely a stressor. So in the chat, I want to invite you to share what are some of the transitions that you are experiencing at this point in the pandemic. Maybe you identify with some of the ones that have already been listed. Maybe there are some that we haven't mentioned yet. And so I want to encourage you, if you're comfortable, to put some in the chat to help some of our members know, even if they don't post their own, oh, wow, I'm not alone in that. So it looks like we have some responses. Being alone is difficult to deal with. Losing family members, loss of access to home and possessions. ending a career of 24 years and starting a new one online. That's very different. The on again, off again nature of these past few months, right? That's a big transition. Am I going? Am I staying? What is this? Afraid of being around unvaccinated individuals, transitioning from working to retirement. Yes, definitely. That is a stressor and a transition. Experiencing depression. Thank you for sharing that. And this is definitely can be a very difficult time if you're someone in recovery, maybe from addiction or mental illness. And, you know, these are new triggers that we didn't prepare for. And we suddenly need to learn to navigate in a new way. So that is definitely a common experience. You are not alone in that. And there are a number of online meetings. I have some resources at the end that may be helpful for folks who are looking to engage with support networks, should the in-person ones not be available. All right, so I'm going to pause in reading these out loud, but I encourage you all to continue posting and sharing your experiences in the chat. So we've identified our triggers, and the next step is not only to see what the situation is that is stressing us out, but to know in ourselves, how do I know when my stress levels are high? What happens in my brain and my body when I am experiencing a high level of stress? For some folks, this could look like mood swings. Maybe you present as angry. Maybe you're more likely to shout or argue with a loved one. Maybe you experience problems with sleep. You wake up in the middle of the night. Your pain may be more acute. If you're unmuted, can you please mute? Thank you so much. It can also show up in negative self-talk. Maybe you don't typically, be hard on yourself if you make a mistake, but when you're experiencing stress, suddenly you're really berating yourself for simple things. Feeling overwhelmed. These are all examples of how stress can present to us as individuals, but they're just a handful. So I encourage you, check in. What does a high level of stress show up for in you, in your life? What does that look like for you? And once you identify what it looks like for you, I encourage you to identify some techniques that you can use to manage that stress, to manage those higher stress levels, and start working that cortisol out of your system. And I encourage you to really individualize this for yourself. What do you identify with? What do you find really calming and meaningful? What normalizes your system particularly? I have some examples that I can share with you today around that are informed by science and shown to bring our cortisol levels down. But I really encourage you to touch base with yourself and identify what is your particular experience, what's really impactful for you. So some tips for managing cortisol levels, for managing stress. Science shows that exercising regularly, just 30 minutes of gentle walking a day, can help to boost our mood and reduce stress, to work that cortisol out of our systems. Getting enough sleep is very important and actually puts us in a better place to be less reactive to the environments around us. Create a routine. Include things that make you feel grounded or centered, and work them into your routine intentionally so you spend time with them every day. I think, at least for myself, I know that I tend to, I know what it feels like when I'm really stressed, but I don't do a lot to prevent it. I more so intercede when it's to the point where, wow, I'm really stressed, I should do something about this. And I have my coping skills, right? My meditation, my aromatherapy, but if I would take the time to do them every day, perhaps I wouldn't get to the point where I am so highly stressed as often. So that's a goal for myself in 2022. Focus on the things that you can control. Mindfulness can help us to identify what's within our control and what's not, and help us to focus on the things that are. The more that we do for ourselves and for our families, the more in control we can feel. And one of my favorite grounding tools for myself in this vein is the Serenity Prayer. And it reads, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And during my, musings during the pandemic, I thought to add this last line, and the presence to feel the changing tides. One of the things that is so certain during this pandemic is that things are changing. They're going to change, they have changed, they will continue to change. And for me, I meditate on the Serenity Prayer quite often, and it felt like it needed an extra line that acknowledges this is changing a lot. And what I can control may be different tomorrow. So that's just a little tool that I've been using. Some other tips for managing cortisol levels can include setting priorities. We cannot solve everything in a day, and it's one day at a time, right? So set priorities for what you can manage today and leave the others for tomorrow, or maybe a couple tomorrows away. Control your media consumption. The way that the media is set up, I studied communications for a while, and the values that are presented in the media is they want people watching, right? So they're going to share inflammatory things in order to get viewership. And so it's important for us to control our media consumption, because at the end of the day, the news is always going to make us mad, and it's always going to be on all the time. And that's just the way it works. And it's not healthy for us to consume news 24 hours a day, even though it's available. So I encourage everyone, schedule time-limited windows into your day where you check for updates, right? If you really enjoy being up to date, work those into your day where you check and then walk away, because having that constant exposure is triggering your cortisol in your system. It's that your system is interpreting it as, oh, there's a tiger. I need to fight, flight, or freeze. And by not exposing yourself to that tiger on a regular basis and letting your system calm down from the exposure, you can help to negate the negative effects of cortisol. Use your support system. Research shows that as we navigate transitions, it's easier on our minds and bodies if we do it with other people and have people to support us through it. And communicate hope. The way we think and talk can trigger our body's stress response. And so speaking in a hopeful way can help to manage our cortisol. I want to particularly speak to reentry anxiety. Reentry anxiety can speak to that kind of fear and anxiousness we feel when we are maybe, we were quarantining in our home for a while, or maybe we just haven't been interacting with people very much. And now it's time to go to the grocery store, or we were invited to an in-person gathering. And that anxiety we feel towards that situation has been labeled reentry anxiety by researchers. And it often aligns with two areas, safety and social interaction. And so I have some tips if this is something that maybe you're experiencing now, or perhaps will experience in the future. And these tips include mentally prepare for the situation that you're going into. Mentally walk through scenarios that you may encounter. So if you are perhaps invited to a friend's wedding and you're deciding to go, it's in person, you're going to go. It's your first, in-person event in a while, especially one of this size. But, I want to go. So I encourage you mentally prepare, walk through the scenarios that you may encounter. Maybe you're going to go into the reception hall and it's bigger than you thought, and there's more people than you thought, and they're closer together than you thought. Mentally run through that scenario in your head. What will you do, right? And practice some of those response actions. So if and when you do walk in, and maybe that does happen, you're not totally blindsided by it. You've prepared. Hold a practice run. If you know where the wedding's going to be held and it's nearby, visit the space beforehand. See how it's laid out. Are there spaces where you can step back from individuals and keep your social distance if that's important to you? Tidy up in preparation for the events. If you're returning to your office, that can include cleaning up your desk space, or maybe in the terms of the wedding, clean up your car if you're going to be driving over, and that will be your personal space for that event. Tidy up your car, make sure that it includes everything that you need, right? And that may include new items to help you manage your anxiety. Incorporate those new coping skills or routines that you've come to value over the past 2.5 years. Maybe you really are identifying with your plants and their greenness brings you peace, or the scent of lavender is something that you've really come to value as a calming presence. Put those things in your car for this event so you can reach out to them if you need them. And I want to share some advice specifically for supporting children, especially with the transition back to school, is available from the CDC. So that link right there goes to the CDC's page on supporting children. So if that is something that you're interested in learning more about, I encourage you to check out that link. Some tips for coping with safety concerns, because that's part of reentry anxiety as well. Know the updated pandemic safety protocols for where you're going. Do the little research on it, make sure you know what they are. If you have any concerns, communicate them to the people. Maybe you're going with someone, or you're communicating with the person preparing the event. Communicate them clearly. Continue utilizing the safety measures that you have control over, like wearing a mask or using hand sanitizer, right? Knowing what's in our control and what's out of our control. And clearly communicate your personal safety needs to those that you're meeting. If you are continuing to wear a mask, if you value social distancing, if you need the individuals that you're going to be with to test negative before you join together, maybe unmasked. Communicate those things so you can have a conversation about it and everyone's on the same page, right? It's not a mystery of, oh, did they do this thing I really value? Have that conversation very forthright. And be prepared with what you'll say or do if your safety needs stop being respected, right? Run through that scenario in your mind, figure out those options for yourself so you're not blindsided if it happens. And you can also use objects to create social distance. And so if perhaps we're in the conference hall for the wedding, the reception hall, and you're trying to keep your social distance and it's a little hard, use the objects in the space to help enforce that. Stand behind the table instead of in front of it where the dance floor is. Perhaps carry a large bag that you can use to turn towards people and create that 3 feet of space. If you're at the store, a shopping cart can also be a tool to put that square footage between you and other people. So useful tips potentially for navigating safety concerns. And I also want to encourage everyone, prepare for ups and downs. The only thing that's certain during this pandemic is everything's changing, right? And I encourage everyone, anticipate that periods will happen where we have reduced interaction with other people, whether it's because of quarantine or case counts go up, whatever it may be. We are likely going to experience a fluctuation of periods where maybe we're seeing people in person and then maybe we're not anymore. Maybe we're seeing someone every week and then maybe we're not anymore. Anticipate that and have a plan for staying connected with your loved ones while remaining socially distant. It is very possible, especially you're all on Zoom today or joining over the phone. This is a fantastic tool for staying connected. And so I encourage everyone, make a plan for if you can't meet in person, what will you do instead to stay connected? As you go through this process, I encourage everyone to check in with yourself. Maybe keep a journal or set time aside each day to reflect. What's going well? What exactly are you struggling with? The 8 dimensions of wellness can be a useful tool, a useful scope to look at these questions through. And they include, what is my emotional state, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, occupational, and social. And right, we may be doing very well intellectually, right? I know the facts and I'm comfortable with them, but emotionally, I am so anxious. There can be a disconnect between those things, right? And that's okay. And the first step for us to manage it in a healthy way is to acknowledge that it's going on. Some tools for supporting others during the pandemic. One of those tools includes mental health first aid. For those of you who are not familiar, mental health first aid teaches us how to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental illness and substance use disorders. It's a training that gives you the skills you need to reach out to individuals who may be experiencing these things and provide initial support and help connect them to appropriate care. So this is not by any means training you to be a counselor, but to be a compassionate human being who can help to point the person towards additional help. And so this is a training that's offered by the Mental Health Association of Maryland. You can learn more about it at mhfamaryland.org. And one of the handouts that Michelle will share with you in your email is titled Assisting Someone Distressed by the COVID-19 Pandemic. And it is a publication by Mental Health First Aid, and it is chock full of wonderful tips and information around this topic. And so I encourage you to check out that handout when it hits your inbox. In the chat, I want to invite you now to share, how are you coping with the uncertainty that we're all experiencing right now? In what areas maybe are you okay? And is there anywhere that you could ask for help? Again, no pressure if you don't want to share in the chat, but I want to invite everyone to, because it can be helpful to see other people's answers and know we're not alone, even if we don't post ourselves. So I'm seeing some responses come in. How are you coping with the uncertainty? Cooking perfect recipes, breath work, prayer, and helping others are some answers that have come in so far. And in terms of what areas are you okay, anywhere you can ask for help. I'm having trouble with social support since my family members have passed away. Lots of exercise and charity work. Thank you so much, everyone. Limiting the news. I could ask for more support from a therapist. Thank you. And I'll step back now and let you all follow that on your own. But thank you to everyone who is contributing. It's very helpful for us to see these and know that we're not alone in them. So transitions are difficult times. Not only experientially, we know this, but research shows us that transitions are hard. And the research shows that we get through them more easily when we use a support system. And support systems can include our friends, our family, social groups like TRIO, and local resources. Maybe there are groups that exist that you haven't tapped into yet. I know throughout Maryland, there's a network of wellness and recovery centers, full of people that know what it feels like to be depressed or anxious or have an addiction or whatever it may be for them. And so that's another one of the resources I'll share at the end. And, there are plenty of resources that are not tapped into yet. Maybe your support system has changed since the pandemic started. Or maybe you're someone where your support system was limited before the pandemic started. And that's something that is difficult now. We can always build our support systems. And I noticed that was one of the questions in the chat that bubbled up was, how do you build your support system in this environment if you don't have it anymore? So I have some resources at the end that may be a place to start. So I'll circle back to that one then. If you are experiencing extreme anxiety or you find yourself unable to complete daily tasks, please reach out to a mental health professional. And you can do that in a number of different ways, which we'll touch on in a minute. I want to highlight the difference between anxiety and COVID-19 for a moment. So anxiety can include panic attacks, and these are discrete episodes with an abrupt beginning, right? They come on suddenly and then they end. There's a specific beginning and an end to a panic attack. And these symptoms of a panic attack can include a rapid heart rate, feelings of impending doom, being out of control, and cramping in our stomachs. And COVID-19 is different. If you develop these symptoms, reach out to your doctor or visit the CDC websites. And symptoms of coronavirus can include fever, dry cough, trouble breathing, and extreme fatigue. But there are some overlapping symptoms of a panic attack and COVID-19. And this is where the confusion may come in a bit. Some overlapping symptoms can include chills, shaking. If everyone could mute themselves, please, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Some overlapping symptoms of panic attacks and COVID-19 can include chills, shaking, sweating, chest pain, hot flashes, and shortness of breath, right? And it can be alarming if you're experiencing a panic attack and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have COVID? Realistically, that's just going to contribute to your panic attack. And so it's very important to be aware that there are some overlapping symptoms, but it really comes down to a panic attack has an abrupt beginning, it comes on suddenly, and then it ends. And so I wanted to make that distinction as well. And if you are experiencing panic attacks and this is new for you, perhaps overwhelming, I encourage you reach out to a mental health professional to learn a bit about how to navigate them, how to manage them, because there are skills and tools that you can use. So to put it very simply, coping with COVID-19, take breaks from the news, make time to unwind and take care of yourself, set goals and priorities, take care of your body and your brain's attached, connect with other people, and focus on the facts. That is the kind of truncated version of everything that we've talked about so far. Specifically for anxiety, if that's something that you're experiencing, I wanted to share this website, virusanxiety.com. It is a service of Shine, and they have a lot of useful resources around specifically helping individuals cope with the symptoms of anxiety. So that is a resource particularly around that. Some general resources I want to share with you all. Maryland has developed a counseling warm line. And so this is a free service. There's a trained counselor on the other end of the phone. It's available from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays and on weekends from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it's an opportunity to speak with a caring call specialist that is a licensed mental health professional. And they'll listen to your concerns. It's free and confidential. If there are resources that can be helpful, they can help to direct you in those directions. But if you just need someone to listen to, they can do that. So maybe, therapy isn't something you're ready to jump into yet. This could be a great opportunity to just try it out. Or maybe you're seeing a therapist and you need someone to talk to between the appointments. This could be an opportunity for that as well. If you're interested in counseling services, my number one recommendation on how to find those is reach out to your insurance provider if you have insurance. They will be able to tell you who your local providers are that are in your network. And that will be more fruitful than an internet search, because chances are your internet search will tell you about people that your insurance doesn't cover. So my go-to advice for that, reach out to your insurance provider. That will be the most direct results. You can also utilize the Psychology Today Therapist Finder as a useful tool if maybe you don't have insurance, or you do have insurance and you don't really want to have a phone call. You can toggle the search criteria to insurance type. That being said, though, not all therapists are listed on that website. SAMHSA also has a mental health treatment facility locator that you can access by phone or online in English and Spanish. In terms of peer support, right, which TRIO is a wonderful example of. Peer support is, meeting with and finding support from individuals who have the common experience, right? In TRIO's case, it's with the organ donation and receiving an organ donation. But in the mental health lens, this can speak to experiences with anxiety or depression or addiction or whatever, right, the experience may be. So there are a number of recovery and wellness support resources, specifically along the lines of identifying with others who are experiencing mental health concerns. And there's a full list. A lot of these resources are available outside of Maryland. So if you're joining us from outside of Maryland today, I encourage you to check out this list. And many of them are available online. If you are in Maryland and you need immediate help, I encourage you to reach out to 211 press 1. That is our statewide crisis line, and it's available 24/7, right? If you are experiencing, overwhelm based on anxiety or depression, or maybe you just don't feel like you can get through today, or today's really hard and you need to talk to someone. 211 press 1 is a fantastic resource for that, and they're always available. Specifically in Baltimore County, there are a number of peer support resources in a lot of different lenses, and I put together a list. But wellness and recovery centers are available across the state. I mentioned those are hubs where folks with mental health experiences and addiction experiences come together to find support. So there's the link there for where to find your local wellness and recovery center in Maryland. COVID Connect is a wonderful resource that the State Department of Health has put together, and it's meant to connect folks who have experienced COVID-19 and experienced the virus and have survived it. They have virtual support groups for COVID survivors that meet twice a month. They also have a webinar series where they present on different topics every Thursday. And these are around all the different topics that we talked about today that could be potential stressors. They really dive into them at a different level than we were able to cover today. So I encourage you to check out that resource, or maybe share it with someone that you think may benefit. Our coronavirus website has information. Maybe you're interested in finding a therapist. You aren't quite ready to go in person. Telehealth is an option. You can receive your appointments over the phone at many places. We have a tip sheet on how to engage with telehealth resources. And there's a screening tool as well. Mental Health America, maybe you are suspecting that you're experiencing anxiety or depression, but you're not quite sure, and you don't really want to talk to someone until you have a better idea. There's a screening tool that you can take a self-test in order to find that answer for yourself, if that would be useful. And the link is there. So all this to say, your mind matters, and it's being impacted by this transition. Even if you don't feel it acutely right now, there is a low simmer for all of us going on. And instead of waiting for it to come to a boil, it will be better for all of us in the long run if we address it now, right? And use our healthy coping skills to keep it from boiling over later on. Please look out for your minds during these transitions and take care of yourselves. So that is all of my content. I want to open it up to questions now.
Thank you, Casey. I think that was awesome. And sorry for some of the little
Glitches?
glitches there during the presentation. We still have people entering. I don't know if they kind of timed out or something, but congratulations to Kelly. This is an aside. She had cataract surgery in December, and she doesn't have her glasses on, so she's all excited about that. And someone asked, Kelly asking about addressing the correlation between adequate sleep and mental health, and how that relates to transplant patients, especially during that first year post-transplant, when they're taking medications that generally interfere with their sleep.
That is a great question, Kelly. So I want to invite everyone, if you're not speaking right now, please mute yourselves, because that will really interfere with the recording. Thank you. So I cannot speak specifically to the science around transplant and the impact of sleep on that, but I can speak to the science around sleep in general. And when we don't get enough sleep, our body just doesn't work as well. And it puts us at risk for not only physical illness, but our brain's not working as well too. So things like depression and anxiety. And medications can certainly interfere with our ability to get enough sleep. And if that's something that you're experiencing, I would actually really recommend that you talk to the doctor that prescribed you that medication, because chances are it's a side effect, but it's not a promised side effect, right? So it may show up differently for different individuals. Some people may be really impacted by the sleep loss. Others may only be fairly or mildly impacted. So if it's really being interrupted for your sleep cycles, I would recommend reach out to your doctor, let them know that that's going on, and brainstorm together for a solution. Because at the end of the day, if you're taking other medications, there may be an interaction going on, right? That is resulting in more sleep loss than typically. And you know, it's really going to be a personalized solution for you.
Thank you, Casey. A few people got on late, and there is the question, is this being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. The link to our YouTube channel and the recording will be sent to you in about a week. I also will include all of the attachments that Casey has so generously provided. Her presentation deck right now is already on our website. So if there's a screen you missed or you didn't get a picture of it and you want to go back and get that website, you can go to our website right now and click on, you'll see her picture, today's date, click on that and get the presentation and be able to find the information you're looking for. People commenting that being alone is very difficult. I think this was some of the answers to your question about, you know, what is stressing you? Where's your anxiety coming from? And just the on again, off again nature these past months of things are better, things aren't better, being afraid of unvaccinated people, being around them. Let's see if we can find some questions. A lot of things people aren't happy about. They can't travel, can't see their friends.
I do see a comment about waiting 3 months to receive mental health therapy. And I just want to acknowledge that that is a systemic issue right now, where there is an overload of people reaching out for therapy and therapists being at capacity. And so I just wanted to mention that, because it's not just you, that is a systemic issue that's going on right now, similar to how the hospitals are overloaded. And that being said, you know, support can be received through a therapist, and it can also be received in other ways, right? And so if you are on the wait list to receive therapy, great, that's a great first step. What else can you do to support your mental well-being in the meantime, between now and the time you get to see the therapist? Because there are definitely more active steps that we can take, and that can include reaching out to the counseling worm line. That can include utilizing those peer support services that are free and available. Maybe you're not able to see the therapist, but you can go to NAMI's support group once a month. And that's a positive, uplifting, supportive experience for you instead, that will help to get you between now and into therapy. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. What do you do when you've lost your support system? We've talked about that a little bit. Build a new one. And I know that sounds scary, and it's easier said than done. I fully want to acknowledge that. But this right here, Trio, is a beautiful place to start. And if there is perhaps someone in Trio that you are personally connected with, or you'd like to get to know better, maybe start with that. Start with the thing you know, and then start branching out from there. And I encourage anyone, if you are looking to expand your support system and you don't quite know where to start, reach out to me and we can have a more of a conversation about what the options are.
A lot of people, hopefully everyone's looking at the Zoom, because I won't be reading all of them, but a lot of people telling you what they do to cope with their stress and how it helps them. Gwen talks to herself in the mirror to kind of talk through some things and some issues and things that she's thinking about. And then it actually prepares her for when she maybe has those conversations with some people. A lot of people do exercise, people going out and doing some self-care like massages, manicures, pedicures. Neil takes a Tai Chi class on Zoom weekly. That's through the city, his city rec department. And he says that the city also offers yoga classes and that they're great. People thanking you, Casey. And yes, the copy of the slides, like I said, are on the website, triomaryland.org. Thank you for the presentation. And I don't know if you have any final comments, Casey, or if anyone else has any final questions. I think that's another thank you. Excellent presentation, Casey. So I think you really provide a lot of great information. I don't know if you have any final little cheat sheet things you want to let everybody leave with.
Sure. So I guess my just last thought is, we're all looking, I think, to expand our support networks. And there are some people that are appropriate for sometimes, right, in some topics, and other people that are, we need to reach out at different times, right? We need a variety of support in our lives. One person may not always be the right answer for what we're experiencing. And so as a place to start, that VHA list of wellness and recovery resources has over 100 support groups and sources that are going on. So if you need a place to start, I suggest open up that document from the link in the presentation and pick one. And chances are, you'll meet someone at it that may be able to point you to something else. And if that one's not for you, reopen it up, try a different one. There are definitely lots of different places we can go. It just may take some persistence, like finding the right counselor. It takes some time to find the right support system, just like it takes us time to make friends. So please don't lose hope. Keep trying. Find the things that work for you. They're out there. And with that, I will step away. Thank you so much.
And I'd like to remind everyone that TRIO is a support group. We're all here. We're all friends. We may not have all the answers you're looking for, but we can certainly get you started and moving in the right direction. And at least there's a friendly hand here reaching out to help. I want to thank everyone for attending today. It was great seeing everyone, even you, Jerry. It was great seeing you, Jerry, and Neil and Charles. It was great seeing everyone. I want to remind you to check out our website, www.triomaryland.org. All the sessions from all our transplant conference speakers are on there, along with our monthly meetings. So you'll be able to find all the notes and all the presentations. And I want to remind you that we have a very active Facebook and Twitter page going on right now. And if you have anything that you would like to add to any of those things, please don't be afraid to get a hold of Michelle or I. But as my part of the meeting, I just want to wish everyone a safe and healthy 2022. And once again, we're working very hard to try to get our group back together again physically. And as soon as that opportunity arises, we will take that chance and get everyone together.
Thank you, Casey, for your time and really excellent information and helpful contacts for everyone. I hope it was really helpful, and I hope it assists people in getting over this very long bump in the road that we've been dealing with here for a couple of years. And you'll get that YouTube link and the other information in about a week. So you don't need to email me. So thank you.
And if we don't see you before, we'll definitely see you again in February on the 12th, and we'll be headed to our next topic.
Thank you, Casey.
Thanks,
everyone.
Casey. Gwen, you look wonderful this morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
It's nice when you're quiet. This is really cool. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay warm.
Bye, Jim.
Get out those boots. You see everybody come in. You see everybody leave. Casey, you're so sweet to stay on to the end. Good luck in your new home.
Thank you. I wanted to stay on a minute in case anyone had some final questions or anything as the group left. I know it can be a bit intimidating to share in front of so many people.
Thank you for putting that Canada piece up. I don't know. I don't ask for people's addresses when they register. So I'm never sure if we get our Canadian group. We do at times get a few people from Canada.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't think to say it out loud, but I did reach out to my friend, and that's the peer support line in Canada.
Alberta, Canada. Someone, Jan, she just said. So I don't know if she
right there, Canada.
Oh, look at
The
that.
Willis family. There
Mike
you go.
and Linda, cool.
I thought you were just being cool with that cup there, Mike.
Yeah, me too.
Joe at the
Thanks,
bottom. I
Marty,
love-
Michelle, and especially great presentation, Casey. Thank you.
Yes. Thank
Nice to have you
Casey.
guys on board.
Casey's still here. Did anyone have a question that they were saving to the end when there were maybe less people on board to take advantage? She's still here. She's graciously still staying on the line.
Casey, just a quick question. So if mental health is backed up 3 months, what's your other suggestion? Just find a therapist somewhere?
So it's going to be backed up differently based on where you live, right? And how the local therapists are being impacted. And, you know, there's certainly research shows us that there's different levels of therapists available in different areas, right? So if you have one therapist in your little town, chances are they're going to have a longer wait list than a town that has 10 therapists that are in it and near it. So a couple suggestions, I mentioned finding support elsewhere to help bridge the gap, but also, you know, telehealth, the ability to have therapy appointments over the phone really expands your geographic footprint. You no longer have to go to the therapist that is 2 miles away. You can go to a therapist in Canada if your insurance allows, or, you know, you are willing to pay however, you know, they need you to pay. So I just want to kind of open our minds up a bit to this telehealth situation. The ability to participate in therapy over the phone really opens up our options. And depending on your insurance provider, like I know for mine, I'm pretty sure I would still need to go to someone in state, right? But I no longer need to go to the therapist that's in Hereford. I can go to the one on the Eastern Shore. So long as it's within the state of Maryland, my insurance will be able to cover that.
Thank
So
you.
food for thought. Neil.
Hi, Casey, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for what I would think, what I'm going to call a very spot on, perfect answer regarding medications and sleep. So I take a lot of medications, not just to preserve my kidney transplant, but open heart surgery. So there's anyway, probably a dozen or more. And I was experiencing a lot of side effects, including problems with sleep. And I started talking to my transplant team about this. And so I also like the fact that you were speaking, say, this is personal. Well, whatever is you come up with will be personal for you. Therefore, you do have to speak to your doctor. So that's why I didn't just throw this out there, because that's the key. So anyway, so I contacted my transplant team, and they said, okay, you have to take twice a day various medications. So rather than piling them all up like in the morning, let's split them up. And so that's what we agreed on how to do it. But that, of course, that's just personal to me. And that's made a big difference, both in my sleep and my general sense of well-being, you know, going through the day, because I deal with fatigue and, you know, these sorts of things, dizziness. So we had to find a way. But that's like you pointed out, it's just a matter of going to your doctor and discussing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Well, great. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Casey.
Casey, it was great as usual. Thank you so much.
You're awesome.